Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome back to series 3 of the 5-Star Wellbeing Podcast. I'm delighted today for episode 50 to welcome Kathleen Donnelly Israel, who is an author. She's written a book called Wisdom on the Camino. Kathleen wrote this book to chronicle her adventures as a 70-year-old, or as she likes to say, a 70-year young, which I absolutely love, widow and grandmother. She walked along the Camino Santiago de Compastela, pardon my pronunciation, you can correct me in a moment, Kathleen, which is 500 miles across northern Spain, and she walked that solo. Along the way, Kathleen shared her life philosophies with people that she met. These were philosophies that Kathleen had developed, having studied with many masters, mainly virtually or online, whilst she was caring for her husband over 17 years. So welcome, Kathleen. Really delighted to have you as my first guest for this series. I would love to just start off with a bit about you, your background, your origin story, how it came about that this is what you did as a 70-year-old. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I was born in San Diego, California. I still live here, lived all my life in San Diego. And I had a troubled childhood. My father was an alcoholic, rageaholic child molester. And so I had some pain and sorrow in my life that I needed to deal with. I tried to deal with it most of my life. And then finally, when my husband was ill, I had plenty of time because I had to be here. So I went online in the evenings and studied with enlightened thought leaders to heal myself from my sadness. And I had just a regular childhood. We went to the Catholic schools, and I went to Catholic high school, all girls school, and I met a girl named Judy. We were in grade school and high school together. And while I was caring for Ron, she went on the Camino Santiago de Compastela, and I saw that she was doing something very special for herself. So I decided that when Ron was done with his disease, I would do the Camino also. So that's how I decided to do it. Ron and I we were married for 48 years. We had 5 children. Now we have 11 grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Most of them are in Texas, in the U.S. And anyway, I took care of Ron. In the beginning of his disease, I was trying to find ways to cure him. And I even sent $50 to a man in Australia to get a cure. He said he had a cure, so I sent him $50 and he sent me the cure, but Ron wouldn't do it. And
what was it? Was it homeopathics or something?
Yeah, he had some exercises. It was uncanny. He said that the people with Parkinson's disease, they usually lost somebody in their life of the opposite sex. And they had a childhood, an illness, like an injury to the lower part of their leg early in life. And it's so weird. Ron had this scar on the back of the bottom of his leg from an accident with a motorbike or something.
Wow.
And I just thought, wow, So I bought a couple of cures from him. And anyway, so Ron wanted me to accept him the way he was. He did not want me to be his healer. He wanted me to be his caregiver. And so I just had to honor that. And so, I became his caregiver. And he was okay for quite a while. He actually rode his bicycle to Spokane, Washington from San Diego. That's like 1,800 miles. While he had Parkinson's disease. And because our son when he went to college, my husband had to quit his job, so we could not, we couldn't help John in college, and so he was a salesman. He sold Cutco knives, and so he donated $1,000 to the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, and they sent Ron a letter saying, honoring, John's donation. And Ron said, "Oh, I'm going to have to do something for John." And he said, "I'm going to ride my bicycle to his graduation." So he rode his bicycle. And anyway, that was a crazy thing. Me and the guy across the street went with him, and we had a motorhome, and we would pick up Ron in the evening and bring him back to the motorhome, and then take him out to where he was in the morning, and he could continue. So
you've had a few adventures in your life then.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. When I was like 19 years old, I went to Hawaii, and I was a counselor at a Girl Scout camp on the Big Island of Hawaii. So that was pretty exciting. I went all by myself, and I went to school in Switzerland for a couple of summers, and so I went there all by myself.
Okay. But what about walking, hiking? Is that something that you did throughout your life?
Yes, Ron and I, when we went on vacation, we would just hike everywhere. And like every day when he in the evening after dinner, we would take a hike in our neighborhood. And we ran a marathon together, except for he was an athlete and I was not. So he ran it in 3 hours and I ran it in 5.5 hours.
I would just be so grateful if I actually finished a marathon. I can't see it ever happening. So well done.
You're a finisher, and that's great.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up your Catholic upbringing. So I'm curious about how, have you stayed a practicing Catholic? What did your faith have to do with your journey as well?
Yeah, I retained my faith in my life. I didn't go away from my faith. I think because of the troubled childhood, the church was like my safe place. And so I didn't feel like I had to rebel against it. And I didn't, I really, a lot of my friends, they're like, "Oh gosh, how can you send your kids to the Catholic school? Don't you know what they did to us?" And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I was paying attention when I was a kid, because I was tuning out. So actually, I don't,
Well, you had other priorities for being alert and protective of yourself, outside of school. So yeah, maybe in school, it was just like a big breath of relief.
Yeah, I think I was pretty much tuning out at home and at school. I just tuned out when I was a kid. I think probably people thought I was stupid or something, but I just couldn't handle reality.
And did you work outside of the home?
Well, that was difficult. I did work outside the home. When I got married, I was just completing 3 years of a 4-year degree in college. And so I didn't have an education, so to speak. And I was a stay-at-home mom when my kids were little. And then when my youngest son got old enough to go to preschool, then I got a job. I used to volunteer a lot because people would watch my kids if I would volunteer. Like I was a volunteer swimming instructor, and I taught religion and art and all kinds of stuff because people would watch my kids when I did that. And so that was a little bit of getting out for me.
Yeah, a bit of adult, conversation and stimulation.
Right.
Yeah,
so I got my degree when my daughter was in college, actually. And so I was a graphic designer, and I did that for about 10 years. And then I I studied transformational breathing and became a facilitator. So now I teach transformational breathing.
So before I get into the journey then, seeing as you've brought that up, can you tell us about that? What is it?
It's a full diaphragmatic breath. And what I do is I do a breath analysis. I have my client lay down and I watch their breathing and I see where their restricted breathing patterns are. And then I can help them breathe in those areas, because we hold our sadness or our trauma in our body on a cellular level. And we like if we had our heart shut down, lost, from loss or something, then we don't breathe in our heart area, because our body knows if I breathe there, I'm going to feel the pain of that sadness. And so we don't breathe there. Or maybe if we had our free will shut down, then we don't breathe in our belly. Mm-hmm. And because our body knows if I breathe there, I'm not going to, I'm going to feel those feelings again. And so, so I can see that. And then I have affirmations that I help people get through and get over their sadness. And it's really amazing. Because I use Louise Hay book.
Yep.
You Can Heal Your Life.
Yep.
And it has illness and what causes it and affirmations. So I use those affirmations with my clients.
I love Louise Hay. And so is it a particular breathing technique, or is it more just making people aware of breathing fully and completely into all those areas, basically the energy centers of the body?
Yeah. I get them breathing in a very special way. They have to open your mouth. You can't hold on to your anger with your mouth open. So usually we should breathe with our nose, because it cleans the air.
Yes.
The cilia in our nose cleans the air. But during the transformational breathing, you breathe with your mouth open. Mm-hmm. And also, if you blow the air, then inside our mouth, we have these uptake things. And so we can uptake the carbon dioxide as it, if you blow, then you accumulate the air in your mouth and then you let it out, slowly. But if you just have your mouth open and just go, as an exhale, then you're just getting rid of the air. And and it's a circular breath. So right after they breathe in, they breathe out. And after they breathe out, they breathe in. And the metaphor for if there's a space between breathing in, the metaphor for that is they're having difficulty taking in their good. And if there's a space before the exhale, the metaphor for that is they're having a hard time letting go of all that does not serve them. So when we close those up, then that can be very beneficial for the client.
That's amazing. I've never heard of that. So it sounds really useful. Is there, can people access information about that or ways of doing it online?
Yeah, there's we used to only do in-person breathing sessions, but since COVID, we had to go to online breathing sessions.
Especially important during COVID, given that it's a lung issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, during COVID, I was taking MMS, which is it's a substance that it actually it doesn't touch your aerobic cells, but the anaerobic cells, it steals an electron from them. And so, they always said that COVID is a weak cell because it's not aerobic. Mm-hmm. And so, it can just knock that out.
Wow.
So I used that during COVID. And so I wasn't afraid of getting COVID,
Did you get it?
I did get it, but I wasn't taking the MMS during that time. I was visiting my son in Texas, and when I got home, I had it, and my son said, "Oh yeah, you probably got it here. I think I had it last week." I'm just like, okay.
Thanks for that, mate. All right. So is MMS like it's a supplement? Can you get it anywhere?
The last time I saw it was on Etsy.com, etsy.com.
Mm-hmm.
They have it. They have had it on there. The government doesn't like us to have it because they don't want us to be able to heal ourselves.
Yeah. Yep.
And so they call it water purifier, but it's MMS, Master Miracle Solution or something like that.
Right.
And the website for that, he doesn't sell it, but he will tell you about it, is jimhumble.org.
Okay.
.com. I think he has both of them.
Okay. Never heard of that either. You're just such a wealth of information, Kathleen.
Yeah, I did the Camino in Portugal last year in 2021, and it was, COVID was still going on, and I brought the MMS with me. So I just took it every morning before I even started out. Mm-hmm.
So, well, actually, before I ask you that, are you able to give us a quick demonstration of transformational breathing? If you can't,
okay. You could just open your mouth, and okay. I want you to think about your lungs. At the bottom of your lungs is your diaphragm, right? It's hooked onto your bottom of your lungs, and so this is a full diaphragmatic breath. So when you breathe in, you lower, just think about it, lower your diaphragm to let the air in. So you go, and when you lower your diaphragm, it pushes your belly out. So they call it belly breathing, but the air is not going in there. It just, when the diaphragm goes down, pushes the belly out. So you breathe fully in with your diaphragm. Just take in a lot of air. And then when you exhale, you just relax the diaphragm and don't blow. I see you blowing there. Don't blow. Open your mouth. Yeah, like that. Because you don't want to uptake the carbon dioxide. So yeah, just breathe in and lower your diaphragm, and breathe out and surrender all that does not serve you. So breathe in and then breathe out. Just a relaxation. The exhale is a relaxation.
So is it quite fast then, the exhalation?
The way you make, it's not a fast breath, but it's not a real slow breath either. But what I like to say is, if you want to make the breath longer, take a longer inhale. The exhale is just it's just like cleaning your glasses, or
So yeah, so it's almost like a sigh.
Yeah, it's a sigh, and it's a relaxation of the diaphragm. It's not a pushing. So you're going to push down with your diaphragm to take the air in, and relax the diaphragm to let the air out. So let's do a few of them. And you right after you breathe in, you breathe out, and right after you breathe out, you breathe in. And anyway,
thank you. So what do you think of all these, kind of breathing, relaxation breathing techniques where they do, like especially in yoga, it would be common where they say breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause. Do you think
it's a different thing? The transformational breathing is designed to integrate your trauma. And so you need the circular breath to integrate your trauma. Any sort of breathing that you do is good. I personally think that breathing is for getting the air in. So if you're breathing and they're telling you not to take air in, I'm like questioning that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I also think it's like, energetically and, in the kind of metaphysical world of Louise Hay, that, it's breathing life in, it's it's breathing energy and it's breathing life force in. It's not just air, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, the Kundalini.
Yeah. Activating Kundalini. Absolutely. So we better get on to your actual journey along the Camino. So I guess, first of all, because you talk about that you shared your philosophy and your knowledge along the way, but what drew you to studying those things whilst your husband was ill? I mean, other than you had time, so why not? But, there were a million things you could have studied or done instead. What was it about that?
It's because I had so much trauma as a child, and I had been, going to therapists. I never went to a therapist till I was like 35 years old. I had a car accident, and, they made me take all these tests, doctor tests, and every one they kept losing my paperwork. And I was just like, what? It made me crazy. And so I had to go to a shrink because I was going crazy. And so then I just started, over the years, I studied expressive arts therapy. So we had to be in therapy to be a therapist, and so I did that, the expressive arts therapy, and I just studied, and I still had pain. I was still a sad person. And I just kept trying to, these people online, they tell you they're going to cure you. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I think God was leading me and to my healing, because I would get one healer, they would come on and I would maybe buy their program, and then I would do the work. And then after a while, it wasn't interesting to me anymore. I think that's because it raised my vibration this high, right? And then God would send me another one. And then I would buy their program, and it raised me a little bit higher. And just over the years, I got rid of all kinds of really terrible stuff. And so one of the things that I learned was the Ho'oponopono. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. But please explain it for people who don't. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a Hawaiian healing technique for the family, and it's like a prayer or an incantation. And first you say, I love you, and it's I love God, God loves me, God loves the other person loves God. If you can say, I love them, they love me, then say it. But if you can't, that's okay. I love you, I'm sorry. And it's not I'm sorry I did something, but I'm sorry the situation between us exists. There's a situation here. I'm sorry it exists. Please forgive me for what's going on in me that caused me to attract this. So I have buttons that get pushed, and I wouldn't know where they are if this person hadn't, ruined my day or whatever they did, So thank you for showing me this so I could heal. And then, the big I love you. I love God. God loves me. God loves the other person. Maybe you can say it, I love them by then. Mm-hmm. But I use it as a soaking prayer. And I know that, I don't know if you believe in this, but somebody told me I had all these hangers on all around me because they were so attracted to my sadness.
Yeah.
I had all these people did not like me. I think their spirit, when they saw me coming, were like, get me out of here. Because I had all these sad hangers on around me, and I got rid of them, and it was so great. One night we were on vacation, and I was in bed and I was trying to sleep, but of course my monkey mind was bringing up all the sad stuff, and so I was doing the Ho'oponopono, and I was feeling shame. And I'm like, well, this isn't about shame. I must be doing it wrong. So I was kind of analyzing what I was doing. And so when I said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, then I said, I forgive me, and I forgive it up. And then I just felt like this refrigerator-sized pain come out of my heart and go up to God. Wow. And I was just like, wow, that's great. And so all night long, I I kept having these sad thoughts, and I would do I call it my extended ho'oponopono. And so I was doing the extended ho'oponopono, and I think that's how I got rid of those hangers on, because I released them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was great. And I shared that with people on the Camino. That was one of the things that I shared with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
are there any, I was going to ask you if you had any sort of key aha moments when you were studying these, philosophies and
that was
techniques. So that was obviously a big one. Were there any others, and were there any other sort of philosophies or techniques or modalities that you learned that, we would know about or that we should know about?
One of them is about worrying. When we have had trauma or something bad happen, and then it kind of informs us about how to worry about things in the future. And so what I want to say is that we need to make up a good story, because worrying is making up a sad story and then believing in it. And so we need to make up a good story, because if we make up a sad story and we believe it, and then we're worried about it, and we tell that other person we're worried about them, and sometimes it's like, of course I'm worried about you, I love you. But actually it's like, of course I'm worried about you, I have all this trauma that's informing the way I'm thinking about you. And so and it can actually be a curse, because we're actually sending negative vibrations to that person. And so we need to make up a good story, because there are endless possibilities. I mean, if we see something sad, and then we think the next time that sort of situation comes around, then we're going to be thinking, well, we're not going to do that because that might happen, But that just limits us in the possibilities that exist for us in our life. There's endless possibilities. And it's better to send good vibrations to other people when they want to do something than to send bad vibrations to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just very important.
Yeah. And especially, I think that's a big one, especially for parents. Never, like my mum's always said, you never stop worrying about your children. It doesn't matter how old they are. But yeah, I so agree that it's, it's almost like you're putting bad juju on them if you're worrying excessively, rather than thinking about all the wonderful things, outcomes.
People who have a lot of good things that happen in their life, they think good thoughts. The people who are thinking sad, terrible thoughts all the time are attracting more of that. So we need to clean it up and be kind to ourselves by not thinking those things anymore. I had, a pretty sad story all my life from my childhood. And somebody told me one time, they said, why don't you just make up a good story? Make up you didn't have to think that. And I was just like, well, that wouldn't be true. But you know what? The sad stuff is just evidence of what you've brought into your life that was sad, and the reason why it came in was because you were thinking sad stuff. So we can change it. We can change it. We just have to find something good to think about and then build on that. Gratitude is good. Praise is good. They both will change up the vibration.
Yeah, and I think gratitude's a big one, that, even if it's something very small that you think is just an ordinary thing, like, I saw a beautiful bird on my walk today, or, I got to drink my cup of tea while it was still hot today. Just those tiny things of trying to bring that into your awareness, into your being in the moment. But even if you can't do it in the moment, I think it's a beautiful practice to, at the end of the day or beginning of the day, thinking about the day before, what's happened in the last 24 hours that you can be grateful for, even if it is those tiny everyday things, and that is going to lift the vibration, as you say, lift the energy and attract more of that.
Right. That's important. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was bringing in all kinds of sad stuff all my life with my sad story. I was.
And how did you change that around? What did you change it to?
I had well, she was a coach one time, and I was telling her, I can't forget this. I can't forget this. And she said, okay, so imagine you're walking down the street, turn the corner. When you look back, your old life isn't there anymore. When you turn the corner, when you look back, you're looking at something else. And she said, just turn the corner. Don't look back at that anymore.
But so does that mean that you just don't look back, or that you look back and you can see, the sunny street behind you kind of thing, like what does it?
Yeah. But you know what? Now when I think about the people that hurt me, and people did hurt me in my life, but when I think about them, I think about that I had attracted that in. If I hadn't been having a low vibration, I wouldn't have attracted that in. So I can take responsibility for it. I'm not blaming myself, but you know what? I'm taking responsibility for it. And I prefer to not be a victim. I prefer to take responsibility for the vibration I've been sending out all my life that brought in all this blankety blank stuff,
Okay.
And I prefer it. I mean, I'm not doing the guilt thing or anything. I just prefer to take responsibility for my actions that brought in all that stuff.
Okay.
And I honor myself as a valiant spirit who decided to come into this world and raise my vibration.
Yeah, because, speaking about spirits, I mean, my other way of looking at it is that these, so-called bad things that happen to us they happen for a reason as well. And, so you were, you had that sad vibration for a reason. Your spirit knew that you needed to learn something. So that's how you were for that time. And then you've learned other things and you've changed.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever higher power you like to think about. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, yep. So you said your friend did the Camino, but before your friend had done it, had it been something that you had thought about or, hoped to do at some point?
No. I watched, there's a movie, The Way Out. It's about the Camino, but I just thought it was kind of silly. And so I wasn't really thinking I never thought I wanted to go to Spain. Spain wasn't on my list. And, but I really love Spain now that I've been there. They're very progressive society, and it's very beautiful.
And so you walked it solo as well. So my other question was, was that a distinct choice, or was it just that no one was able to do it when you wanted to do it with you?
I decided to do it by myself. I did ask people if they wanted to go, and nobody could go.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law, I didn't ask her because she has a problem with her hands, and so she gets cold hands. And I thought, well, it's going to be cold, it's not going to be good for her. But you know what? She told me that the reason why she decided not to ask me to go is because she wanted me to have that time for reflection. And she knew if we were walking and talking together, we wouldn't have had that. The other thing is, you don't walk the same fast as somebody else. So if you go together, somebody's going to have to walk slow for somebody, or, so I think going by myself was a good idea. I read all kinds of books. Lots of people go alone, and I wasn't afraid. And I have like 4 guardian angels that I know personally. And so they came with me. And so I wasn't afraid.
Yeah, wonderful. So, so how did you prepare then, so that you know, at least you weren't worried about being underprepared, both, you know, I guess equipment wise, and, you know, where were you staying, and also did you train, you know, did you do lots of walking preparation?
Well, the reason why I knew I could do it is because I used to walk 3 days a week with my friend, Severa, and we walked along Mission Bay in San Diego, and we walked 5 miles, and I didn't even break a sweat. So I thought, well, I can walk 5 miles before lunch, 5 miles after lunch. I can do this. I'm not worried about it. And then Bernadette, my sister-in-law, took me out, and she said, Kathleen, you're going to have to walk up mountains. So she went and found all the mountains in San Diego, and we walked up the mountains. So I had that. And Ron died in August, and around January, I was done with all the paperwork from his death, you know. And so I thought, well, I better get ready. And so I watched all kinds of YouTubes, and I went to a lecture at the library about packing light for the Camino. Mm-hmm. And I got a lot of advice from a lot of people. The lady at the library, she had a shirt, and she had another shirt, and she said, this is a regular shirt. This is a shirt that's light enough to take on the Camino. And it was made out of some miracle fiber that was very light or something. And so I started ordering online all these clothing, and if I would get it and it wasn't very light, I would send it back, or, you know, I just accumulated everything. I had my list of everything I needed. There's all kinds of YouTubes about how to pack for the Camino. Mm-hmm. And I bought long sleeve shirts. I wrote in, you know, long sleeve sun protection shirt, you know, lightweight, and then I would, you know, pick some out there. So I really liked my clothes. I didn't want to wear sunscreen, so I wanted to have long sleeves. And if you get the the smart wool, it's not heavyweight, and you can just, even if it's warm, you can still wear it.
Yeah, that's right. And also, you don't need to wash it, and it dries really quickly if it gets wet. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I took 2 smart wool shirts, and I got 3 pairs of pants. I took 2 changes of clothes and the clothes on my back. So I had 3 changes of clothes with me. Yeah. And that's all I took, and the sleeping bag, and some food prep, like a spork, and you know, a few things. Mm-hmm.
And so were you camping, or were you staying in accommodation?
Yeah, the albergues. They have albergues over there, and they're a giant room full of bunk beds, and they have a kitchen and a bathroom. Some of them are co-ed, some of them have the bathroom for the ladies and the bathroom for the men. Mm-hmm. But they're all, you know, whatever they're going to provide, and they're set up by like a family or a municipality or a church or some volunteer organizations, and they set up these albergues, and they're very cheap. They're like 5 to 12 euros a night. And then sometimes they provide food, and you pay extra for the food. And then sometimes they'll have a kitchen, and there'll be a grocery store in the town, so you can get your food and cook it. And every town is different what the amenities they have. And then the albergues, you know, if there's no restaurant or grocery store in town, then they provide the food. Mm-hmm. You know, it just comes with the deal.
Amazing. And so do you have to book in, or do you just turn up?
Yeah, that lady at the library told me, book the first 3 nights. Right. So I did. And she said to stay at the Bellari in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is where the French way starts. So I did. And then when I was there, it was snowing on the Pyrenees, so I couldn't go over the Pyrenees. So my next 2 reservations, I couldn't go to them because it was against the law to go over the Pyrenees. They didn't want to have to rescue anybody.
Yeah.
And so those 2 nights, I didn't have a reservation. And then after that, I reserved like 1 or 2 nights ahead. And I would call up and say, quiero una cama para esta noche, in my really great Spanish.
So you didn't learn Spanish before you went, or try and do some?
No, I mean, I live in San Diego. It's right next to Mexico, so I know Spanish a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any trouble.
Okay. Yeah. And so how many miles or kilometers were you walking on average, or did that really vary?
Yeah. So I had a book, and it had the altitude for each, where I was. And so I would notice how high, if I was going to have to climb a lot of mountains, then I could maybe only do 10 kilometers that day, 10 miles. Yeah. 15 kilometers. And then if it was just flat, I could go further. So then I would, like, the book is great. Like, each town, they have the amenities at the top, how many albergues there are. They list them, the phone numbers, you can call them. It's really great. And so I would, see how far I thought I could get that day. And really, in the beginning, I was doing 10 miles a day, basically. And one day I got done with 10 miles, and it was before lunch. And I thought, well, gee, I guess I better walk further, So that at that time I was maybe walking 15 miles a day. So that was good, because you get buff while you're there. You're walking, and you're just going to get better,
Yeah, amazing. And was it the same in terms of the accommodation and stuff in the Portuguese part that you did?
Well, it was during COVID, so there weren't as many. I had to stay in hotels more.
Right.
But regularly, I'm pretty sure there are enough albergues. But I'm an old lady, and I can't walk 35 miles in a day. And some of those albergues, they were like 35 miles apart. And I would be like, I took the bus back to the albergue before, and then I took the bus back in the morning and started walking again. So sometimes I had to do that. It wasn't really as fun as the French way, because there were albergues, but they were all, they were open. And during COVID, it was a little bit difficult.
Okay, right. And what made you decide to go and do the second journey?
Well, you kind of get bit by the Camino bug, I think, and you just have to go back. Some people love the French way, and they'll just do the French way over and over again. I wanted to, because I'm coming from the US, it's a long way.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just do a short Camino. So I started in Lisbon and walked to Santiago. A lot of people start in Porto, and it's not as far.
So how far was the one that you did?
It was like 489 miles.
Wow.
Because I continued to Finisterre. So I when I did the French way, I wanted to go to Finisterre, but I got sick, and I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
I needed to just leave there, and so I just took the bus to Finisterre the first time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I remember doing the Cotswolds Way in the UK when I was in my 20s, and right at the end, we just we set out with none of the right equipment, not the right shoes, being stupid early 20s, and right at the end, we got the bus on the last day. We were like, no, that's enough. Just get the bus.
I did take the bus when I did the French way. It was going to be 9 miles walking on the freeway. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. And so I took the bus that day. I did walk 17 kilometers, and then I took the bus to Burgos. I walked to Villa Fria, and then I took the bus to Burgos.
So are you going back again?
Yeah, I want to do the northern route. I don't know if I'll do it this year. I might wait till next year and then have my 75th birthday on the Camino.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go this year, but I think I've got some other projects to do, and I want to write the book about Portugal too. So I think, I don't know, unless I get everything done by then.
There's not that much of 2022 left now, is there?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was going to go in April, this next April, to the northern route. It's right along the northern coast of Spain. And I just think I love the ocean, so I think I will love that.
And so tell us about the book as well before we run out of time. So why did you decide to write a book? And
here's my book.
Beautiful.
Wisdom on the Camino, a spiritual journey, sharing forgiveness and possibilities to inspire the rest of your life. I self-published on Amazon. And so it was a #1 bestseller in 3 categories.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. And so, I wrote the book in 3 months, actually. Joined the self-publishing school, give them a bunch of money, and they helped me. They held my hand while I wrote the book, showed me how to do it and stuff. And I'm so glad I did that, because I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't done that.
Right. But why, what, was the initial spark that you wanted to write a book?
Okay, so I wanted to write the book about the teachings that, I studied for so long online with those enlightened thought leaders, and I just thought I had developed some philosophies of my own, and I wanted to write a book about it. So then I just didn't want to be teachy, and so I remembered I told people on the Camino about all those things. So then I wrote the book about walking the Camino and telling people about those things.
And so two last questions then, really. I guess number one is, can you, I know you've already talked about some of it, but can you put your, sort of key philosophies into a nutshell for us? And secondly is, I suppose the answer would be that you want people to get those things from the book, but anything else that you particularly want people to get from the book?
I have a prayer. I want to tell you about a prayer that I shared with the lady in Burgos. She helped me find the Camino. She let me walk with her, and then she showed me where it was, because I didn't know where. I was in Burgos for like a couple of days, and I didn't know how to get to the Camino. And so she was telling me about some problems that she had, and I told her about this really great prayer that I say. And that prayer is, Dear God, please make everything turn out okay. And then you let God make everything turn out okay. So I always say this when I'm done. I can't fix it. I can't make it better. I can't figure it out. And then so I let God figure it out. And miracles happen when I say that. It's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah. And I believe that I came in before I came in to this earth, I was a low vibrational spirit with God out in the universe. And I had heard that you can raise your vibration if you come into the world and be a human, because humans can do unconditional love. And so there I was, I got born into my parents' family with this low vibration, and I was just attracting bad stuff from the beginning. Really, before I was born, I was attracting bad stuff. And so I just spent my life, and I noticed that I always wanted to be good in my life. I wanted to be a good person. And things just went wrong all the time. And the worse it got, just with my low vibration, I was attracting in all this terrible stuff. but I honor myself as a valiant spirit to come in here and try and raise my vibration. And really, you can't do unconditional love unless you have adversity, because it's easy to love the people that love you. So if you have like kind of a haywire life, then you can actually do unconditional love. You can love the people that haven't been nice to you. And so I think that's it in a nutshell. You need to love the people in your life, no matter what. And that particular unconditional love raises your vibration. So when you get out of here, you can take that wonderful high vibration with you.
Yeah.
Into the spirit world.
Yeah. Thank you. So obviously people can get your book on Amazon.
Yeah, you just put in Wisdom on the Camino and it comes right up.
Okay. And is it in bookshops as well, or is it just on Amazon?
No, just on Amazon right now. I haven't figured that other part out yet.
That's perfectly understandable. And do you think that the Portugal one will be coming out sometime soon?
Yes. Yeah. I have. Yes, I have. I've started you have to write down an outline and stuff, and I've started on that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we finish up, Kathleen?
I just want everybody to know that it's very important to raise our personal vibration, because we can really change the world. Imagine a whole world full of sad people and what that's doing to the collective consciousness. But if we each take care of our own vibration, you can raise it with unconditional love, with praise of God, praise of other people, and also, gratitude. You can raise your vibration. And I just really recommend that. People who are like maybe can't get out, or they're stuck at home and they're thinking their life is not worth anything anymore, if you can raise your vibration and add that to the collective consciousness, what a wonderful thing. And it's all collective. It does matter. Every single one of us, it matters.
Yeah, we're all connected. Absolutely. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Kathleen. It's been a really lovely conversation. I've really appreciated you coming on and giving us your time and your wisdom. And I'd really encourage people to hop onto Amazon and get the book, Wisdom on the Camino.
Oh, I just thought of something. There's a gift in my book.
Oh, great.
The people told me that I should they love my pictures. They said, you should put the pictures in your book. And I'm like, yeah, and it's going to be $50, right? And so I made a website with my pictures, and they're in like galleries and portfolios for the chapters. So you can go to the chapters. I'm sorry you have to double opt in. That's just the way the world is now. You just have to double opt in. It's in the book. It says read this first, but it's not very big. But it's right across from the table of contents. And so you just have to go to my website and opt in, and they'll give you the password.
Okay, and then you can see the photos in
while you're
relation
reading
to each chapter. Yeah, okay. Oh, wonderful. That's really good. Okay, well, once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure everybody will get a lot from this conversation.
Thank you. I really enjoyed talking with you, Arwen.